Hello and welcome to Produce Talks, the CPMA podcast. I am your Produce Talks host, Ian Brody. On this episode, we are speaking with a couple people in the know on food service and retail to cover all things happening in grocery stores and restaurants. The marketplace is as competitive as ever, and we're seeing strategies to reach a number of demographics, with focuses on convenience, speed, quality, price, sustainability, and much more. We've got Mary Scianna, the editorial director at Grocery Business Magazine, and Chris Elliott, senior economist at Restaurants Canada, to talk about the trends and efforts companies are making to reach that ever-so-coveted end consumer. First, I want to briefly talk about our e-learning courses, Produce Basics and Produce Essentials. These two online courses are an excellent training resource for anyone new or looking to learn more about the critical business functions in the produce industry, covering important areas including sustainability, food safety, logistics, merchandising, and sales. These are a great tool for anyone along the supply chain, from the grower right to the produce manager. Head to cpma.ca/education to learn more. All right, let's get into it. My first guest is Mary Scianna, editorial director at Grocery Business Magazine. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So to start off, maybe you could talk a little bit about the Grocery Business Magazine.
Well, Grocery Business Magazine is a Canadian-owned publication for the grocery retail sector in the country. Two of the magazine's founders, Karen James and Kevin Smith, have deep roots in the industry. And since it was formed almost 10 years ago, it's built a reputation for delivering timely and relevant information for grocery retail professionals across the country.
So it's obviously very industry specific.
Yes, it is.
So today I really want to dive into some of the trends that we're seeing at the retail level and the different strategies and initiatives that we're seeing grocery chains take. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the focus on convenience. I think this is something that's really taken off, I think, in the last year or two, whether it's, a delivery service, free pickup, meal kits in stores. We're seeing all sorts of different strategies come into play to reach that end consumer. Can you talk a little bit about how this shift came about? And do you think it's millennials that are really driving this shift towards convenience?
I think actually that it's the Gen X may have started this, and the millennials have certainly accelerated the trend to convenience. But I think convenience may start to change, and it remains to be seen how that will happen. And the reason I say that is that we recently partnered with a group called Field Agent on a study about the Gen Z. And they are, of course, the generation that's born roughly between 1995 to 2015, give or take a few years. Mm-hmm. So the oldest group is now, the oldest people in that cohort are around 24 and entering the market. And the study that we did showed that 80% of that particular segment is active in grocery shopping. And when asked what's most important when they shop for groceries, only 8% said convenience. Instead, most of them said price was the most important element for them, and they still like to shop in store. So that sort of changes what convenience may mean for future generations.
Oh, that's really interesting, because I guess I would have thought it would have been not necessarily the other way around, but I would have thought that convenience certainly would have been higher on there.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise for us, but it's a new group, and there's lots of research that's focusing on this emerging consumer. So that was interesting for us. Yeah,
it's really interesting. Do you think that income plays a part in that, like in terms of affordability?
Absolutely. I think that does play a role, because further into the study, there is some discussion about the stores that they choose to shop in. And surprisingly, the two top stores that they like to shop in, they would say they're most popular, are Walmart and Costco. So we found that really interesting as well. And I think that perhaps plays a role in being more price conscious.
Mm-hmm. So when it does come to convenience, though, what are some strategies that you're seeing that are being implemented by different retailers?
Well, there are several strategies, and I can't comment on true specifics, but one of the interesting things that Save On Foods in Western Canada and the affiliated Thrifty Foods, they were actually earlier adopters with online grocery delivery back in 2005, which I found kind of interesting. But everyone is involved in grocery delivery now, as I think most people know. Metro partnering with Skip the Dishes recently, Walmart and Loblaws with their own delivery service, and of course Sobeys has announced its online delivery platform called Voila by Sobeys, and that's going to be using the Ocado platform, that is the UK platform that a lot of people know and is being used in the US by a lot of the grocery chains. And then on the other side of the whole convenience that I think is going to spread, it's restaurant service, the whole Uber Eats type of thing. Well, there's also In a Buggy on-demand grocery delivery that ties into that, and it's spreading across the country. And also, there's going to be more competition coming into the area. In July, for example, Britain's Just Eat and the Netherlands Takeaway, they joined forces to create this huge food delivery service. And at the time, they said in a statement that they plan to have a leadership role in world markets, and they included Canada in that, so that there's going to be more home delivery from grocery and also tied into restaurants. I think that there's going to be a bit of overlap there with the services that will be available for consumers in the coming year.
It's really interesting because there's so many different platforms, right? And
there is, and it's a bit confusing, but the interesting as well, and it's just such a mix because some of the grocery retailers are offering it for free. Others, you have to pay a service. And so it's all over the place right now, and I suspect part of it is people have their own platform. They're trying to differentiate themselves from other grocery retailers. And I don't know if that will iron out and whether there'll be a more common platform or not. But at this stage, it is all over the place. There's a whole variety. It's also new. So people are testing different platforms, different strategies, different software programs because they're testing the market and seeing what consumers are willing to pay or what consumers want, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, and that goes down to, delivery fees, increased prices, or there's a lot of components there.
Absolutely, there is.
And one of the benefits of shopping for produce in the store is that you can actually, select which produce that you want to take home. Do you think or have you heard of any challenges with some of these convenience programs, when it comes to the employees picking the produce for the consumer instead of the consumer picking themselves?
I've not heard anything specific other than, as you said, a lot of people do like to pick their own produce. Having said that, those people are likely the ones that are going to continue to shop in store.
Yeah.
Hence, going back to the Gen Z group that said that they like to shop in store, it's part of the experience. A lot of people take pleasure in being able to pick the perfect apple, the perfect watermelon, whatever the case may be. So for those people who like the experience and the pleasure of shopping are probably not the people that will want home delivery, at least not for now. That may change long term. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but that's what I see happening right now.
Sure. And for me personally, that's me. Like, I'm definitely one of the ones that, want to go in and pick my own produce. If I'm picking an avocado, I might not necessarily want something that's ripe right now, or maybe I'll pick one that is ripe right now and then one that, will take a few more days or whatever it is. Again, like you said, it's all down to personal view and other factors that come into play, like price and personal experiences.
Correct. Yeah. And you mentioned price. I mean, that's another thing too. That could be a deterrent for some people. If there's an option to shop in store or an option to have home delivery, but it's going to cost you $11, they may think twice about that and just go to the store if it's not that far away. This is a new area, and I think it's an emerging area, and a lot of people are still trying to figure it out, what's going to be the best strategy, the best platform, the best technique, what's going to make customers happy.
Mm-hmm. Now, I saw in a section of the magazine that there's usually a feature called Shop Talk. There's lots of familiar faces there with a few people from our board and our committees. Are there any themes or challenges that keep getting highlighted in that section?
More recently, sustainability has become a concern. Retailers are looking for more innovative solutions in produce that address the need to reduce plastics. So that in turn is spurring developments that you can likely read about in biodegradable and plant-based or edible packaging that consumers can now pick up their produce in. So there's been discussions about going back to having more fresh produce that's loose versus being packaged. That's really brought on a lot of discussion among retailers who are looking for something new from their suppliers to address sustainability. The other area is year-round demand for fresh produce. And combine that with increasing weather extremities, it makes it a bit of a challenge for supply. The other area is transportation. We spoke with some retailers who mentioned that there was a shortage of drivers, border wait times, and of course the uncertainty with the U.S. trade agreement. That all adds costs to grocery retailers when it comes to produce. The last thing I would say is, and this is also something that a few people have brought up, but meeting the demand for the diverse ethnic foods. That all ties into the supply chain as well. Depending on what location you are geographically, you may have a need for some particular type of fruit and vegetable that ethnic market wants, and that also is a bit of a challenge, but that comes up as well. Looking for people who can provide some of the more exotic types of fruits and vegetables that their particular consumer may want. For sure.
Just going back to your point on plastics, that's actually a topic we'll talk about on our next episode of Produce Talks. Yeah. Are there any other trends that you've seen, when it comes to that focus on sustainability?
One of the interesting things that I've seen crop up is companies that are now making sustainable food using vegetables and fruits. And what I mean by that is at a recent trade show, it was a health and wellness trade show, there was a company that had partnered with a juicing company to use the waste from the fruits and vegetables in a pizza crust. And that pizza crust is now being billed as the first sustainable pizza crust in Canada or North America. So that's interesting to see that that's tied in to sustainability. And it's also becoming an issue with the grocery retailers. Longo's just recently opened a new supermarket in Newmarket that focuses on sustainability. And from the retailer side, they're going to be looking at suppliers and vendors who can offer them solutions, sustainable solutions that go beyond just packaging for produce, but offering solutions along the supply chain, delivering produce in eco-friendly vehicles or, delivering in larger volumes to reduce the carbon footprint. There's going to be lots of things, I think, that grocery retailers are going to start asking of suppliers in the supply chain because of sustainability.
Yeah, no, and there's so many components to that supply chain, and there's so many points where there's opportunities for businesses at the same time, minimizing climate change. So getting back to produce specifically, are there any commodities or any specific fruits or vegetables that are really flying off the shelves more lately?
One of the things I have some information on is that some of the recent data on sales of fruits and vegetables is interesting because it's been rising. Retail sales of fresh fruits and vegetables reached almost $5 billion in Canada in the first quarter of 2019. And in the same quarter of 2018, sales were just under $4.5 billion. So it's not a big increase, but it's interesting to see that there's been an increase in fruits and vegetables, and of course there's probably a combination of factors at play, whether it's the Canada Food Guide, the CPMA's half-year plate, the growing movement of the plant-based diet. That's all playing a role in something like that. And the only other interesting thing that I would say is that apparently cabbage has become the new cool vegetable. I've read a few little comments about cabbage. It's described as the poor man's food. And the modern twist is that it's being paired with luxury ingredients by some celebrity chefs with things like caviar or as a taco topping. So that's quite interesting. We'll see what happens with cabbage in stores over the next little while. But it's the cool vegetable, cool cabbage.
All right. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. It's certainly a versatile one, I think. Like there's certainly a lot of things that you can do with it.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mary. I really appreciate your time and joining the podcast.
Okay. Thanks, Ian.
All right. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. And now a quick word from our sponsor, Nature Fresh Farms.
Hi, everyone. This is Frank from Nature Fresh Farms sales team. When trends begin to shift, our team has already started testing new products that promise to excite our customers. Whether it's designing eco-friendly packaging, creating new product lines, or bringing new varieties to market for the first time. We not only respond to trends, but we set them. Learn all about the products we offer by visiting www.naturefresh.ca/products.
All right, so let's dive into food service. My next guest is Chris Elliott, Senior Economist at Restaurants Canada. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much.
So, Chris, can you start off a little bit by talking about Restaurants Canada and the types of companies that you represent?
Sure. Actually, Restaurants Canada is proud to be celebrating 75 years. We started out back in 1944, but our purpose remains the same, and really that's to help food service businesses across the country grow and prosper. And as a result, today we're now an $89 billion food service industry, employing more than 1.2 million Canadians across the country. And in terms of our membership, it really is the wide spectrum across the food service industry. So everything from a small mom-and-pop restaurant to the large multinational chains. Mm-hmm. As well as we have a lot of associate members. These are manufacturers, consultants to the industries, suppliers to the industry. So it really covers all elements of the supply chain as well. So it's not just at the restaurant level, but everything from farm councils to producers to suppliers to manufacturers and finally the restaurants.
Right.
There are some retailers that are also part of Restaurants Canada, and certainly what we've seen, especially in the last couple of years, is that blurring of the line between what is retail and what is food service. Mm-hmm. We see a lot of the retailers now getting into grocerants. So places like Market 63 by Copa's or Longo's Corks Beer and Wine Bar, they all are getting into that grocerant spectrum, and they're seeing a lot of success from that. And then, of course, convenience stores as well. We're seeing more and more counter space being taken up by already food that's prepared.
Yeah, no, it's certainly interesting times. And we've talked a little bit about the importance and kind of this push towards convenience, right? And I think that certainly plays an important role there.
Oh, absolutely. And it's showing up in a lot of our industry data as well as we're seeing a lot of growth in people wanting that convenience. Mm-hmm. People are working longer hours. They don't have time to cook. They don't want to cook. And in some cases don't know how to cook. And, of course, food service provides a really good option for them. Sure.
And we've also seen this wave of demand for plant-based proteins, plant-based meats. There's all sorts of new products coming out. Has this demand extended into the food service and restaurant world the same way, we've seen it extend into the retail world?
I think it's almost expanded faster in the food service world than it has in the retail world. Just in terms of the studies that we've seen by Dalhousie University that said that 6.4 million Canadians are following a diet that either limits animal product intake or eliminates it entirely. And so there's that huge part of the population that is moving more towards a plant-based diet or more of a flexitarian diet. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of restaurants have certainly responded to that, thinking, okay, well, if we add plant-based items on the menu, such as Beyond Meat Burger, that would help drive traffic. And certainly A&W has had tremendous success with that.
Right.
It was a huge hit, and then we see a lot of other restaurants also including Beyond Meat, whether it's the the burger or other variations of that on their menu.
Mm-hmm.
But this is part of our chef survey, and of course, plant-based burgers and sausages is one of our hottest trends. But we did a similar study just asking consumers how they felt. And although it's not quite as popular in terms of popularity as relative to restaurants, it's still up there, but it's not quite there yet, I would say, on the consumer side. So I think there's still a little bit of effort that has to be made from the restaurant side to educate consumers to say, here's this new product, this is how it tastes, or this is, it sort of mimics meat. Really just try and educate the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly restaurant operators are there, but I think it's on the consumer side that there's still a little bit of hesitation that it may not appeal to a wide audience.
That's really interesting. Are there any other strategies that restaurants, chefs are embracing to focus on that increased demand for fruit and vegetable consumption?
So in terms of the plant-based items, I'm finding that a lot of operators are expanding what they put on the menu as a plant-based item. About 5 years ago, if you were to look at some of the restaurants, it would be just putting on some sort of a veggie burger. Whereas now they're thinking outside of the box in terms of if you go into a Japanese restaurant, there's a sushi bowl, but it's primarily a plant-based one without the fish. Or if you go into other restaurants, they're including like a falafel bowl. So really mixing it up so that it's not just consistently a veggie burger every time you want to go out to a restaurant.
Right.
There's a lot more variety than ever and a lot more opportunities for restaurants to kind of explore and differentiate themselves from the rest of the competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I mean, some certain commodities can certainly be very versatile, I think, like, being incorporated into salads and smoothies and whatever it is. I'm thinking of watermelons, for example. Are there any other fruits or vegetables you think that can kind of make that splash in terms of, being incorporated as whether it's a plant-based protein or just being incorporated in more diverse ways, I guess?
I think one of the areas where we're seeing some of those trends happening, and if you're thinking of sort of what comes after watermelons, one of the things that we've seen just on street festivals is fruit on a stick. And so it could be pineapple or mango, but the idea that it's already peeled, that it's already cleaned up, it's prepared for you, and that it can look appetizing because you can be creative in how it looks.
Sure, yeah.
It's something that's seen as healthy alternative to some of the other foods. And if it's, of course, just in a bowl, it may not be quite as appetizing. But by putting it on a stick, adding a little bit of artistry to it, that's something that then becomes Instagrammable.
Yeah, that's
but
of course,
it goes back
important.
to the idea that it's something that people can find healthy, and we are sort of seeing that movement towards they're just looking for healthy snacks.
Mm-hmm.
But it still has to be appetizing and visually appealing. So I would say that even fruit on a stick sounds simple, might be an area. Root vegetable fries is another area where we're just seeing a lot of growth in root vegetables overall. And a lot of items that used to be just a side dish are now becoming part of that main dish.
Right.
Such as cauliflower, for instance, even dark leafy greens. It's really become incorporated into some of those main dishes as well.
Yeah. As I mean, I'm trying to remember the documentary, but it kind of suggested that in North American culture, how meat is typically the main focus of the dish, and all the items get built around the meat. And I think we're starting to see a bit of a shift away from that with some of these diets and different options.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And really a lot of that is being driven by the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Gen Zs, it's the millennials, where they're driving a lot of those changes.
Yeah.
And so this is what we're seeing on menus as well because of those. And
another thing that I think a lot of millennials and younger people are driving is the stronger focus on convenience. So I'm hoping to talk a little bit about that as well. As we've seen this shift in the restaurant world, the third-party delivery services really have taken off over the last couple of years. And obviously grocery stores are making those same efforts through delivery and pickup services, those ready-to-go counters again. Could you talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the challenges or opportunities that you're seeing restaurants face when it comes to those delivery services or other convenience strategies?
Absolutely. Certainly, The big trend in 2019 has been this real explosion of third-party delivery. I mean, we certainly saw it in 2018, but it's really made a big impact in 2019, and to the point where it's here to stay and certainly become too big to ignore. So when we look at the overall food service industry in 2018, overall food service sales were growing at about 4.7% at restaurants. But if we look at digital delivery, which would be the third-party delivery, and even delivery from a restaurant that has its own app or website, that sales were up on a year-over-year basis by 52%.
Wow.
So it's just extraordinary growth that we've seen just on a year-over-year basis.
Yeah, it's here to stay.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. And again, being driven by a younger population that's just looking for something that's the speed and the convenience. And of course, with more people working at home or spending less time at home to do grocery shopping and prepare meals, they're looking for those types of alternatives.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some numbers here from Dalhousie. 29% of all Canadians have used a food delivery app at least once, most of which are in the 18 to 34 age bracket.
If you sort of think back to 5-10 years ago, it was just either ordering pizza online or for delivery or Chinese food for delivery. And now every cuisine imaginable is available for delivery. Mm-hmm. And this is really actually part of a bigger trend that we've been seeing, where it's part of that stay-at-home economy where people are banking online at home, they're shopping online at home, and this is just that next stage to it, where why do I even have to go downstairs to pick up food? I can just have it delivered to my front door.
For sure.
We are seeing an increase in the demand of locally produced foods. This is one of the big trends that we've seen on our chef survey for the last couple of years, and now it's just sort of been revitalized. This whole locavore movement, people are looking for local foods and really demanding more towards the heirloom fruit and vegetables, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, dark leafy greens, and again, like the root vegetables. So not necessarily challenges, but certainly these are the areas that we're seeing some of the strongest growth for restaurants.
Right. And at CPMA, we've been doing some work around plastics and taking a look at what consumers are saying if we were to shift away from plastics, but at the same time, it gives us food safety and food quality, shelf life, all these things. Have you studied or have you looked at any of the impacts or challenges that restaurants are having when it comes to plastics and more generally maybe a focus on sustainability?
For sure. We've been hearing a lot more on sustainability, and this actually starts from consumers working with restaurant operators. What we've been hearing from the operator side is that 8 out of 10 of them say that environmental sustainable operations are important to their business. It's not just profit anymore. You have to include the sustainability, the planet portion of that as well. And they understand as well as it's the younger generations, the Gen Z, millennials, that prefer to do business with companies that prioritize things like environmental stewardship and social responsibility. And so for about 7 out of 10 operators, we're starting to see that movement towards sustainability and trying to find alternatives to traditional plastic and single use. We've heard about paper straws, for instance. Mm-hmm. And so I'm now going into restaurants now, and it doesn't come with a plastic straw. Right. You would have to ask for it. So I think everyone's trying to do their part. When it comes to actual packaging, it is a bit of more of a challenge because the guest wants it in the speed and the convenience. You don't want it to turn into mush on the way to being delivered. But then there's also better quality packaging also costs more. And so trying to find that balance, and are consumers willing to pay more for the additional packaging that goes with it? Yeah. If it's biodegradable packaging. It's just a matter of trying to find the right materials at the right price to be able to convert over to something that's more sustainable in the long run.
Thanks again to Mary and Chris for joining me on this episode. A reminder to check out cpma.ca/education to learn more about our e-learning courses, Produce Basics and Produce Essentials. Stay tuned for next month's episode, where we'll dive into plastics with consumer insights from David Coletto, CEO of Abacus Data. Until next time, fill half your plate with fruits and veggies, continue to seek out new knowledge, and basically never stop growing.